Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another video analysis of the Steelers win, another one, 23-16 over the Baltimore Ravens Sunday afternoon, and the key word there might be afternoon because there's only one of those games left, only I believe one 1 o'clock game remaining on the schedule. Rest are either 4:25 or primetime matchups, so enjoy getting to go to bed early because it's not going to happen too often starting this Thursday against Carolina. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about what happened in the Steelers' critical AFC North win over Baltimore. And honestly, I mean, and Tomlin talked about it all week long. We referenced it in both in what Tomlin said and just from what we've seen ourselves. And then post game, Tomlin really made a big emphasis of it was possession downs, and red zone football. And the Steelers won in both those areas. Third down was a huge turnaround. You look at that first matchup, the week 4 loss to the Ravens. The Steelers were 2 of 12 on third down. The Ravens were 8 of 17, and that they were like 8 of 14. And then a couple field goals kind of late in that one skewed the number slightly, but still impressive and much better than what the Steelers did. And so that was the big issue, was the Steelers just could not get drives going, and some drives that did get going were stalled out because you couldn't convert on third down, and the Ravens did a much better job of executing there. This week, Sunday, was a totally different story. Steelers finish, was it 10 of 16, and that's including the Ben sack on the final offensive play for Pittsburgh, while the Ravens won, I believe, 4 of 12. So really just a complete reversal of possession down success, where the Steelers went from total failure to domination, and the Ravens went from domination to total failure. So that was critical. And then the Steelers, early on, being able to punch it in, convert and finish drives, and the Ravens largely had to settle for field goals. I think, 3 field goals and a touchdown, while the Steelers were able to largely be able to punch the football in. And so that's what it comes down to. Very simple. You can look at that one stat, or those really, I guess, 2 stats, third down and red zone, and if you can win both of those as a team in general, you win on third down, you're the better team in the red zone. If I had to guess, probably about 90% of the time, you're winning the game if you can win in both those categories. The Steelers did today, and they fall into that made up 90% stat, but I bet you it's really, really high. I bet you it's the overwhelming majority of the time that determines the victory if you can win in both those categories. So Randy Fichtner, to go more into the offense and to delve into that, the last 2 weeks against Cincinnati and Cleveland, he'd come out heavy. He'd come out with tight ends and fullbacks and 22, 12, some really heavy personnel. I'm glad he didn't do that against Baltimore. I think that would have been the worst thing he could do to try to get this run game going, which struggled in the first matchup versus the Ravens. He came out in 11. He came out with 3 receiver sets, spread Baltimore out, put them in sub-package football, and lighten that box. You're not going to win by going heavy against Baltimore. That defensive line is too good. They got too many good run stuffers up front. They're too well coached. They get off blocks too well. Their safety play is excellent. So you're not going to be able to win by just trying to totally out-muscle them. You got to create some space, create some lanes. And I thought that Fichtner did a nice job of that. And then, of course, the offensive line continues to thrive. James Conner continues to thrive. And they were all excellent today, so hats off to them. Now, the first matchup versus Baltimore, Fichtner was in a lot of 11 personnel. He wasn't heavy that game, so this was just more of a matter of execution. But I like him being able to do both and recognize, the run game worked really well at a heavy against the other 2 teams we played, but Baltimore's a different animal, so we got to have a different approach. So from a game plan standpoint, that was good. And then, of course, the execution was so much better this time around. So that was one big key why the run game was successful. Again, hats off to the offensive line. Strong across the board. I thought Villanueva in particular had a nice day. I like the physicality. I like him setting the tone early. Did a nice job against Suggs. Let's check what Suggs' stats were. I don't think he was very impactful. 2 tackles today. A quarterback hit. I'm not even sure when that happened. On a day where Ben was only sacked once, and that was, Ben's self-admitted give-up play on the final third down of the game, where instead of throwing the football away or making a reckless decision, you take the sack, you kill clock, and give the Ravens less than a minute to go to try to come back, which obviously they did not. In the passing game, it was a little bit rough. It's always tough against Baltimore. You'd like to win these games more comfortable, but rarely do Steelers-Ravens game provide comfort for either side, so I don't really care about that. I just care about getting the victory. One thing I thought Fichtner did a little too much of was a screen game. I think that's really tough to do versus Baltimore. They're a well-coached team. They're a long team. They're an athletic team. And when you see Pittsburgh as much as those guys have and the veterans they have on their team, it's tough to fool them. So I thought Fiedner did that a little too much, and some guys were getting their hands on football and knocking it down. You got guys like Brent Urban up front, obviously Terrell Suggs, some of the other linebackers. C.J. Mosley's a great player in the middle. So some of that was a rough, obviously, especially the end of the first half, which was just weird. But I thought overall the passing game made the plays when it had to. Fiedner not afraid to go empty on 3rd and short to spread things out, create one-on-one matchups in the middle, exploit some matchups. Thought receivers did a great job off the line of scrimmage. Juju, AB, of course, Switzer even, winning off the line, finding grass, getting open, winning their release, and winning the route. The passing game made its plays when it had to. Like Ben said after the game, really not a contest where you could put the ball vertical. Ravens do a really nice job of defending the deep ball. Had not given up a 40-yard pass play coming into this game. They actually did give up one today. Jesse James went for 51. That was a double move where Brandon Carr, the corner, got fooled. Ben said they saw something. I'm curious to take a look at it myself. But the first 40-yard pass play given up all year long was Pittsburgh today versus Baltimore. But still, the Ravens are a stingy team to keep a lid on things. And overall, the Steelers really had to manufacture drives. And that's why 3rd down play is so critical, because it is so tough to get chunk plays off this Ravens defense. Those safeties do a great job of tackling, keeping a lid on things. So if you're trying to go into a game expecting to get 70-yard touchdowns, probably not going to happen, and that's going to require you to go on 10-plus play drives to convert on 3rd down, and that's what the Steelers were able to do successfully today. And again, a huge number one reason why this Steelers team won against Baltimore. Defensively, the Ravens got their big chunk plays off of penalties, and they are that classic pass interference offense where they're going to throw it deep and just hope for a flag or hope for a big play or whatever the case is. But situations where the secondary players have to do a better job. I thought the one PI on Edmonds early in the game was pretty ticky-tack. I thought Edmonds played that very clean. I thought he played it very well. The one on Burnett in the end zone, I could understand there was enough contact there, I think, to draw it. Burnett had a difficult game. He did a nice job the week prior to help shut down David Njoku, who was held without a catch. This week was a little bit different. Allowed 2 catches for 50 yards and the pass interference that led to the Alex Collins 1-yard touchdown. So, tough game for him. You're seeing Edmonds continue to be the guy at strong safety, and Burnett just being a dime piece, which I'm comfortable with. I have no big qualm with that. But again, overall, I thought, the defense, while it had its minor warts, played well. Again, keeping a lid on things. I think Sean Davis has done a great job as a tackler, as a physical guy, and being that kind of last line of defense. He's been impressive. And I thought just overall, everyone kind of held their own, even it was a little uncomfortable. I thought the run defense could have been a bit better. Collins was getting some burn into the second level untouched. The Ravens did a nice job with Lamar Jackson with some of their read option stuff and some of the advanced things they do with him. A mixed bag of success for the Steelers. Sometimes they were able to shut it down. Sometimes they had their problems. Obviously, Flacco missed Jackson early in the game for what would have been an easy touchdown. So not perfect by any means, but I thought Collins was getting a little bit too much room and freedom to the second level, and a run game that was pretty terrible really all season long. I thought had too much success, even if the total numbers don't look it. They ran for 61 yards and 3.8 a pop, but I just thought overall the Steelers were having a couple too many losses at the line of scrimmage. But, that happens. Ravens are a well-coached team. Their line was a little bit healthier than I expected, getting a guy like Alex Lewis back, and the right tackle, who people kind of said was a rookie and made him out to be a nobody. Orlando Brown, I think, has had a really solid start to his NFL career. I think he's going to be a good tackle and a good player for him, like his dad was. And so I just, to put some context into that. So the pass rush was hit and miss. They got to him early in this game, Joe Flacco. Hit him twice in the first drive, then it kind of went away. But when they needed to, there was pressure at the end of the game, the fourth quarter situation. Spud Dupree did draw a couple holding calls, and I think Watt drew one as well. So some pressure that would have been there had it not been for a holding call. Some sacks that would have happened had it not been for penalties, and guys just ripping Dupree down. Dupree took advantage of his matchup, I thought, overall. The left tackle, whose name I can't really pronounce, making his first start since JUCO at left tackle. So I thought he played pretty well. I think Dupree's stringing together a couple nice performances. Now, they're games he should play well in because he's facing some really inferior kind of talents, some young guys. Harrison last week against Cleveland, undrafted rookie. The kid this week from Baltimore making his first career start at left tackle. So matchups you should win, but one nonetheless. And like I said, I just kept a lid on things. I thought Mike Hilton was really good. I know I didn't put him in the winners and losers. Everyone's probably yelling at me in the comment section about that, but Hilton was his excellent self in run defense and coverage. Blitzing was quiet. That's kind of why I decided maybe I'll leave him off the true winners list because I just thought as a blitzer it was very ineffective. Steelers have to work on their blitzing. Baltimore did a nice job of picking it up, but just really could not get home. I thought Butler maybe ended up doing a little too much of it because it was so ineffective. Baltimore really was handling it well. Josh Dobbs getting his first completion. A heck of a moment. Ben said he checked out of it. Connor said no, he didn't check out of it. I don't really care. It was a great play action. A money throw, a tight coverage throw, having to kind of throw Juju open because Juju was running into the next defender. So Dobbs kind of had to throw it behind and low where only Juju could get it. So really good placement, even if it looks like it's not a perfectly placed and well-thrown football. I think that was the best placement Dobbs could have had. So that was a huge moment. Helped spark that drive. You get the big hitter to Jesse. I think the next play, the Ben came in on that little out and up and put points on the board off of that. So, hats off to Dobbs for being ready. That's the role of a backup quarterback, is to come in at a moment's notice. One play you're sitting there with your hat on. Next play you're leading the huddle and you're playing in Baltimore with your first NFL pass. And he handled that moment supremely well. So hats off to him for sure. Special teams was, okay. Boswell missed the extra point, so that's, another cause of concern. You get a nice return in the kick game from Switzer. I like to see that. Special teams penalty, DHB got called for, I think, a hold, which was disappointing. That one sequence where, it was second half, Baltimore's punting from their 23, and the Steelers end up starting on their 15 because you get a nice punt by Cook, a poor return by Switzer, and then the penalty on DHB. That's frustrating. That just shouldn't happen. And then I thought the other weird situation, kind of related, I guess, to special teams, was the Ben punt. Don't get the sequence there. You run it on 3rd and 10, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe you're going to go for it on 4th down. I'm fine with that then. Then Ben punts it. I don't know if that's a call where he has the freedom to either run a play if he gets a look and then punt it. Maybe. I guess it would make some sense, but what look are you not getting that you can't go for it there? But if you want to go for it on 4th and 6, I'm cool with that. Let Ben do his thing. But to punt it with Ben, no. Let Jordan Berry do this. Directional punting's been fantastic this season. He's got a knack for pinning teams deep. The Ravens, to their credit, was able to see the punt coming, and you get about a 10-yard net out of it, so you might as well have gone for it. So that was a weird situation. Did not like that decision by Mike Tomlin. But special teams did enough, I guess, on this day to not lose you the game and give the Steelers, a moment on the one Switzer kick return of nice field position out by the 40. Starting field position has been a big issue for Pittsburgh. They came into this game 28th overall in starting drive. So, at least you get a little glimmer there. You do want to see some more turnovers in the splash. No turnovers in this game, which was unusual. The only other time a Steelers-Ravens game has not had a turnover for either side was 2013, a 22-20 win for the Ravens. Random stat of the weird for you there, but you want to continue to get the turnovers. Really hasn't happened, and we'll go into that issue another time. But bottom line, you get the victory, and you go to 5-2-1 in the year. You drop Baltimore to 4-5. You continue to create a lead in the AFC North, while Baltimore's really in a tough spot right now. So you're happy, you take it. Even if it was a close game, Steelers could have won this one more handily than they did. I'm happy. You get the victory, and I think there's a train coming. So I'll wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.